Today we are continuing our topic on gratitude. And gratitude is letting others know you see how they have helped you. Our monthly memory verse is from Psalm 136:1. Give thanks to the Lord because He is good. His faithful love continues forever. All right, so our story begins today in the book of 2 Samuel. God's people, the Israelites, had been at war for a long time. I asked Mr. Doug to help us with some dance moves today, so come on in, Mr. Doug. And there were lots of fighting, lots of battles, armies fighting, swords clashing, arrows flying, warriors shouting. Woo-hoo! After all the fighting, finally David became king over Israel. But when David took the throne, he noticed that something was missing. The ark. When I say the ark, I'm not talking about a boat. The ark was a wooden chest covered in gold. It held the stone tablets of the 10 Commandments and other special objects inside. It was incredibly important to David and the Israelites because in some special way the ark carried God's very own presence among His people. When they had the ark, they knew that God was with them. The ark had been captured by the Philistines, but thankfully God's people got it back. David wanted to bring the ark home to Jerusalem. He wanted God's presence in the capital city so God's people could celebrate what God had done for them and worship Him right there.
Woohoo!
David heard that the ark was being kept at the home of a man named Obed-Edom. It had been there for 3 months after being recaptured from the Philistines. Because the ark was there, Obed-Edom and his family, his house, and his land were all blessed by God. David wanted to bring the ark to Jerusalem. He was pretty excited about the whole plan. He built a big tent where the ark would go. Then he gathered some soldiers and they marched to where the ark was kept. David and his men reached Obed-Edom's home and they found the ark there. The men lifted the ark with poles, being careful to carry it as God told them to. And they began the journey back to Jerusalem. David was incredibly excited and thrilled to be able to do this. You could see it on his face and in his step. He was overcome with joy. After taking only 6 steps, David dropped the whole procession. He couldn't contain his gratitude any longer. He stopped the whole thing and made a sacrifice to God, and then he started to dance. And this is from 2 Samuel 6:14. He danced in front of the Lord with all his might. We don't exactly know what that looked like, but Doug, do you have any ideas? Wow, nice moves, Mr. Doug. David probably had some nice moves too. He danced the whole way back to Jerusalem. And other people joined in. They helped David and his men carry the ark. They blew trumpets. They celebrated. Woo! The whole place was going nuts. Whoa, that was fun. Imagine David doing that the whole way back from Jerusalem. There was one person who was not happy at all about this gratitude and celebration. David's wife, Michal. She saw David doing that. She saw how David was wearing a simple apron instead of fancy royal clothes as he danced his way into town. She thought he looked ridiculous. And guess what? David kept on sacrifices to give thanks and gratitude to God. Then he passed out food to all the people who were there, bread, raisin, and date cakes, the works. Eventually, the dance party ended and people headed back to their homes. When David went back to bless his own family, his wife, Michal, was there. I can imagine her there with her hand on her hip and her mouth, her lips pursed like this. She was not having any of this party time that David just started. She really let him have it. And this is from 2 Samuel 6:20. She said, "You are the king of Israel. You have really brought honor to yourself today, haven't you? You acted like a fool." David told her why he had done it. He honestly just couldn't help himself. He didn't care if people thought he looked silly. He wasn't dancing for them anyway. He did it because he was filled with gratitude to God. He told his wife, "I did it to honor the Lord." And that's from 2 Samuel 6:21. So, let's give a big hand to Mr. Doug for all of his fancy dance moves. Thank you, Mr. Doug. That was really nice. So here's what we need to remember from this story. David only cared about one thing. He wanted to celebrate what God had done. He was thankful for the way that God helped his people through all the wars and battles, and by helping them bring the ark back to where it belonged. Michal was concerned that people would think a certain way about David, but for David it was simple. He danced because he wanted to honor God. He was filled with gratitude to God, and he led the people to celebrate God too. And we can do the same thing. And that is our bottom line for this week. Celebrate what God has done. He has done some amazing, unbelievable, miraculous things for his people. And that includes you and I. Right now, I want you to find somebody in your house and I want you to tell them all the amazing things that God has done for you. You know, during this time of COVID, sometimes it's easy to get down on things, but you know what? We have got so much to be thankful for. We've got a home, we have people who love us, we have food on our table. It is time to celebrate all that God has done for us. All right, so this week's family challenge is, I want you to think of someone who maybe is having a hard time right now. Maybe they're a little bit sad, or maybe they're fearful, or whatever they're feeling right now. I want you to think of somebody like that. And I want you and your family to make them a card. And then I want you to send it to them or deliver it. Maybe you could hand deliver it with a little care package that goes along with it, some of their favorite things. All right, you guys have a great week, and I will see you next time. And don't forget, gratitude. Be grateful for what you have.